Hey everybody, John G here. Today I'm going to talk about the crazy issue of handlebar width. This has been the topic of some conversations lately, some controversy. So I figure I would shoot a video and talk a little bit about handlebar width. I also will share my recommendation on how to measure yourself or what handlebar width might work best for you. And we'll talk about what happens if you're on too narrow of a bar and too wide of a bar. Okay? So let's talk about if you're on too narrow of a handlebar. Here I have my handlebar. This handlebar is set up, this mimics the width on my personal bars right now. So if I was on too narrow of a bar, what's going to happen is I'm going to start to close off my chest as my arms come together. Also, I'm going to start putting my alignment of from my shoulder to my elbow down to a wrist. I'm going to end up with some bad alignment here. This is what I mean. If I'm on the bike, this is too narrow, and I come down to and I put just a little bit of bend in my bar, because we're not going to be riding like this. We'll have a little bit of bend in the elbows. At least you better have some bend in your elbows. Well, you can see how this elbow kicks out this way, and this elbow is going to kick out this way. Which if it was the right handlebar width, it would be fine, but it's not, because we want to get rid of this bend in here. Okay? So if I come out to the point where I can get my forearm to be straight and not kick in, it's going to be a lot easier for me, a lot less fatigue on my upper body and my arms. As soon as I put this as soon as I put this bend into my elbow, I'm using a lot of chest muscle, some arm muscle, and my back muscle, because there's basically this suspension point that's active here. It's just turned on. It's like if you were to pick something up off the ground and hold it here, well, your bicep needs to do the work to hold it there along with some other muscles, and that's what you have going on. As soon as you put this bend in here, muscles have to work. If I'm resting here, let's say, I'm using my body weight dropping onto the handlebars, so it's a lot easier for me to hold myself in a relaxed position with a nice angle here than to put the bend in here. I'm sure we can all agree on that. So that's one major thing that happens when the handlebars get too narrow. We get this bad bend, and also we reduce our range of motion. So if I bring my hands to too narrow of a grip, and I want to bring the bar in, now this isn't flexibility on me, this is as far as my hands can open up to get towards my chest. So I have this gap here. Ideally, I don't want to have that gap. I want to be able to move through a deeper range of motion. Same applies if I'm here and I'm sinking down. I'm going to lock up because I can't move that far. So if I open my hands farther, spread them out, I get a deeper range of motion. I can move more towards the bar, down towards the bar. So if I was here, I could collapse more. And once again, this isn't a flexibility issue. This is a restriction by how far I'm being pulled, how far my hands are apart to my shoulders. So those are just some of the issues if your bars are too narrow. Now, if your bars are too wide, you might run into some different issues. If my bars are too wide and I start opening myself up a little bit more, as I spread my hands apart, I'm naturally going to drop more into the front end of the bike, which I don't want that. I don't want my weight over the front end of the bike. I'd rather have it either center or back, especially when I'm riding, especially as it gets steeper. Also, I'm going to start creating a bad angle with my arms where they're going to be forced out. They're going to be forced this way rather than down. Ideally, I want them down. So I could go out, then I have to get this straight line that I'd like to see, I have to keep compensating with more and more of an elbow bend to get that angle. Now obviously this is pretty wide, but I could see people running, I'm sure people do run bars this wide, but you can see that as I get wider, my chest really starts to drop, and I'm going to start to lose some motion. Also, if I'm turning, and I have this range of motion here, let's say this is my natural range of motion for right where my hands are here, as I go out wider, it's going to start to pull more of my body into that movement from the side. So I'm going to lose some we'll call it, not that we're increasing our range of motion, but effectively it's going to pull my body into something that I don't really want to move. I don't really want this whole side of my body moving if I'm just turning the bar. Okay? So that's what can happen if you have too wide of a bar. You might literally be making yourself weaker as well, because I can obviously, if I was pulling on this, I can pull stronger straighter than wider. okay? I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, go outside and pick something up straight and pick it up wide, and you'll see for yourself. So here's how I'm going to recommend that you measure to see what size handlebar width might be appropriate for you. This is a PVC, you can use anything, your broomstick, whatever you have at home, mop, whatever. So you're going to take this, and I can start with basically my shoulder width, and I can bring it up. As I bring it up, like I showed you guys before, I have this space here, which I don't want. It's limiting my range of motion. So I'm going to slowly let my hands move side to side, and the bar will eventually be able to touch my chest. So right there it touches my chest. If I go just a little bit wider, I'm going to release some of the tension that was in my shoulder and my arms. So bring it down, tight, come up, I can still feel it. So I'm going to stop right here, okay? So now if I bring that out, for me that's where my handlebar width would be. It actually lines up with my tape here, which is where I am when I ride for my bars. So you can see I'm not getting that elbow out going on, and I'm also not starting to drive my wrist out past my elbows, okay? So that's a good way for you guys at home to just see, do this. Remember, you don't want any space in between here. You're gonna bring it up, so if I'm too tight, there's tension. I'll keep moving my hands out. Make sure you don't round your back. That'll give you a false number, false reading on your handlebar width. You have any questions? Please feel free to contact me, johnngmtv@hotmail.com. Visit my website, johnngcoaching.com, or message me on Facebook. Thanks. Have a great day, everybody.